Hi, I'm Jon Velie, CEO of OnlineVisas, and welcome to Voice of Immigration. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and turn on your notifications if you want to be kept in the loop. Please like and share if you like it. And here to announce what's happening in immigration. Very difficult time. Last Friday, the early days of June, the White House, Department of Labor and Homeland Security met and some believe have agreed to reach some, agreement that would have a devastating impact on merit-based immigration into the United States. Utilizing the INA 212F and 215, a new presidential proclamation may ban entry of certain non-immigrants into the United States. We think that ban will be announced somewhere around June 15th. It'll be a temporary ban on entry under the H-1B, H-2B, L-1, and J-1 visas. We thought the J-1 would not be included in that. It looks like it will be now. There are some There are some exceptions for performing COVID-related medical research, healthcare professionals, and food supply workers, but only if the employer has performed certain additional recruitment efforts to locate American workers to fill these jobs. As to the duration of the proclamation, it looks like it will be somewhere between 90 and 180 days. Some think that will probably be around 120. Important that to note is it will likely be after October 1st, which is when the H-1B cap-based petitions will have been approved. So for companies that have gone through the process and will have gotten through the lottery and won an H-1B with a start date of October 1st, those would be included in the ban, and those people, if outside the United States, would not be able to come in. Now, like the earlier proclamation, this was typically about coming into the United States, as Section 212 deals with. However, there's also some agreements that will have a far more devastating impact on immigration that DOL and Homeland Security with the White House have dealt with. And let me take you through the laundry list of those things that may be coming down from this. Now, we say may be coming down because nothing's been announced yet. This administration is pretty good at putting things out there that they want to do, and there are a number of folks, especially in the Republican Party, that have initiated potential legislation that would be in opposition to this. But let me tell you what the things are, and then we can talk about that. So imposing a requirement that H-1B workers be paid an OES wage level 1, that's the lowest level of wages. Used to be just being above the line was good. Now there's 4 levels. So if they are going to be level 1, they can get the visa, but no more than 2 years as opposed to 3. And if they seek an extension, then they'll have to be at least wage level 2. Extending a concept of joint employment. Now, there was a big lawsuit we talked about before, the IT Serve Alliance suit that slammed immigration for its policies on third-party placements and those requirements. Well, this administration has not taken that lightly and has doubled down in making that now even harder. So before, where there was some requirements of showing the contracts and employment letters and work authorization proof, they're now going to have what looks like both the primary employer, that's the company petitioning, and the employee, the place where they're going to be, both file LCAs, and that can be a very problematic thing. LCAs are labor condition applications, and that may really damage those companies that are hiring the H-1Bs if the other entity has to go through the immigration process partly themselves with the LCA. They will now, looks to be an agreement or a memorandum of understanding between DHS and DOL to change how they'll calculate the 4 wage levels, and that all 4 wage levels will increase. We heard that they were going to look at a minimum wage for foreign employees under these visas, especially the H-1B, to be possibly only level 4 or higher. level 4, or maybe 100,000 minimum. So entry level job, $100,000. But they didn't say that, but they are going to look at these wage levels and increase them. We don't know how far, so it depends on how devastating that will. The most intriguing or potentially devastating piece of what we hear is that they may impose a $20,000 filing fee for all H-1B petitions, in addition to the actual filing fees. So that was, we'd heard maybe a $75,000 to $100,000 filing fee earlier. It's not that high. It's $20,000, but $20,000 can really be a deterrent, and really anybody that's in the staffing world probably would not do that. They'd make no money if they had to pay just that filing fee to get in addition to the other filing fees, the legal fees, the recruitment, the training, all these other things. So $20,000. Now, we don't know if that is going to be legally permissible or not, and we'll see what happens if they do this. They've been looking at strengthening or making the H-1B process harder anyway, and they may redefine some key terms. These are what a lot of the H-1B visas have been turning on. These terms are specialty occupation, that is the job title and duties. Who is an employer? That may, we don't know what that would mean, but probably more restrictive. Who's an employee? And what is the employer-employee relationship? Expect movement in that in the next few weeks. Rescinding the H-4 rule. This is where spouses of H-1Bs that have already approved I-140s, that's part of the green card process, their spouses can get work authorization. And many of these folks in the tech field are living in very, very expensive places, and they need a double income, right? And so their spouses can work, but many of it looks like they may strip that ability for H-4s to be able to do that. Also the OPT. OPT is optional practical training. This is a process that allows those that come to the United States universities to be able to get a year, or if they're in the STEM fields, that's science, technology, engineering, and math, 3 years to enter the professions in their majors and work without having to get a visa. And now it looks like they may only allow those in the top 5 to 15% of their graduating classes to have that status. And that's difficult. They're also looking at rescinding work authorizations for various categories of individuals, including the TPS recipients, asylees, and refugees. That would basically create a significant amount of new individuals in the country would become public charges, right? So these are folks that have left their countries and have been giving work authorization cards to work and would no longer have that. So that would be difficult. And so we'll see, and it looks like that won't impact DACA, but we'll see on that. So some really rough news for those in the immigration world and companies that rely on hiring the professionals, people with university degrees to work in university professions. There's not a lot of them. We're talking about less than 5% of the workforce. However, some of the most significant parts of the workforce, and a really big government intrusion into companies to be able to hire who they need to be successful, especially when they're trying to go back online coming out of the COVID-19 economic shutdown. And that's where we see some Republican congressmen and senators possibly putting forth some legislation. Now, legislation would be superior to this if legislation was passed by Congress. A law was passed by Congress, unless the president, of course, vetoed it. But an executive order is not as strong as that. We'll see if there's some debate. It looks like the White House is divided, right? On one side, you have Jared Kushner and Wolf, and on the other side, Cuccinelli and Miller. Miller is the architect. I would think that Pence would probably be on the Kushner side on this, but I don't know how much power he has on us. It's really Donald Trump. Where does he want to go with this? We see as a political football, immigration, hard on immigration, could be perceived, or how they want to spin it, is they're standing up for the nearly 20% unemployment of Americans right now, and not letting these foreigners get their jobs, is how that would be spun. But really, the jobs that the H-1Bs are taking, are utilizing, are in areas that we have a big need for more people, and they're high value jobs, or high income jobs, and not letting these folks in will still leave us without enough people to do them. So that's where we're at. Some tough stuff. Hopefully these things won't go in, or won't go in as hard, but that's where we are today. I'm Jon Velie, CEO of OnlineVisas, and we're delivering dreams one visa at a time. Thanks a lot.